Hi, I'm Gagandeep. I'm alumnus of IIM Ahmedabad, batch of 2024. I have joined Reckitt as a sales and marketing management trainee. When I joined B School and I was very keen to get into marketing roles, I had one thing in my mind that I always want to work with brands who are purpose driven and not only maybe doing marketing, right? So it resonated with Reckitt when the brands that we have, say Dettol, who has a campaign like Swasth Banega India, which focuses on health and sanitation. Then we have a birds and bees talk from Durex, which also talks about consent, teaching adolescent people. These are the things that actually drew me towards coming to Reckitt and be a part of the purpose-driven brand's legacy that we have at Reckitt. When I came, I was very naive. I didn't know much about sales and marketing. But then from the very first day, the authority that I was given, the freedom that I was given to explore things, to fail, to learn, and then to experiment also at the same time, these are the things that actually motivated me. And then I was working on a project on Harpic and I got a PPO. So I got a chance to come back to Reckitt. I joined as a management trainee in sales. And then the last 8 to 9 months that I have spent have been crazy. So I started with my sales stint in last June and I traveled to different locations during my stints. I started in Kolhapur, then I went to Pune, then I went to Bangalore upcountry and then Bangalore upcountry. So these were two different states, Maharashtra and Karnataka, where I worked. And I got to know how a brand differs in a particular state versus a particular state. So the day starts with looking at the data that you have. You have a look at what are your key priorities for the day, the key targets that you have set for a particular day in that particular week. That's how you drive sales in the market. Then you then you share the data with your sales rep and they have a look at it and then you strategize for them that maybe what would work for them today and what didn't work well. So the very first thing is that you receive daily trackers from the region level or on the national level, how brands are performing. Then you see how your territory is performing. That is one thing. But the main learning that happens is not on Excel sheets, but on the ground. So every day in sales brings new challenges with them. When you go to multiple retailers, everyone will have different challenges to tell you in the entire day. You are already stressed with the targets that you have, and then they throw up multiple challenges. These challenges could vary from maybe how a competitor is maybe getting a more market share than you, what are the better schemes that they are providing in the market than you, or maybe just your sales reps discipline. These are multiple things that they do. So one of the challenges that I got was when I was doing my urban sales stint in Pune, there was one particular brand of ours which had lost its distribution share in the past few months. So I went through the data. I saw on outlet level how the brand's sales have dropped or increased at outlet level in the last 2 years. So when I got a particular run rate, the growth, month-on-month growth for that particular brand in the territory, it helped me analyze that which are the outlets where we are lacking. So to my surprise, it was the top 200 outlets that where we were lacking, and they were bringing the major chunk, around 70% of our business for that particular brand. So after visiting all these outlets in the first 15 to 20 days, I got a pulse of what was not working and how we could see the results very instantly on the market. And then in that particular month, we were up by 2x from last year base. And the same thing we replicated in the very next month also. So it went in the same fashion and we grew 2x in the very next month also. So I first met Jaiveer during my induction when we were here, when we joined in the very first week. Since then, I have made a point to keep in touch with him regularly since he's working on one of the brands that is very close. So it's Durex and Wheat that he works upon. So in the field also, when I went, I made sure that I am in touch with him regularly. And there were multiple triggers that I saw in consumer while interacting with them and the multiple barriers that were there. So I made a point that I tell the barriers to him and I ask him that maybe how to perform better. So that is how Reckitt leadership works. There is no power distance that you feel. And no, there is not as such a hierarchy where you feel that you can't walk up to someone and you can't talk to them about your problems. No, when you discuss with them, that is what Reckitt actually expects from a management trainee, that you go and address your issues. That is only when it will get resolved.
My name is Jaiveer Duggal. I joined Reckitt as a management trainee back in 2014. So it's been an amazing journey. I think I've spent the last 11 years learning the ropes. Typically, when you start out in Reckitt as a sales and marketing management trainee, you start with exposure to hardcore sales and you sort of start at the junior most level, and then you get your exposure and you make your way up through the ranks. So that's what the program sort of is structured like. So in 6-8 months, you get a very, very good and very detailed and comprehensive understanding of how the sales and distribution side works, because without that, which is the backbone of what we do, you can't really start understanding the other aspects of the business. After that, I worked as the area sales manager, which is the starting role for management trainees typically. So the area sales manager for Karnataka up country. So that's the state of Karnataka excluding Bangalore. You start out as a fresh MBA grad. You have a team of around 10-11 people reporting to you who have done sales for at least 7-8-9 years. No sales much better than you ever will, because surely because of the experience. And you start by managing these guys. Now that itself is an amazing experience, and obviously that's where you learn how to handle a team. You're not supposed to be a better salesman than those guys are, but you're supposed to manage them well. That's the job. And that's where a lot of people get really worked up and confused. But this is clearly the answer of what the expectation really is. So how do you then analyze data to make sure that these guys are doing the best thing for the territory and for their own selves? How do you sort of look at data and then figure out which are the gaps that these guys are maybe not really being able to fill, which is probably leading to a decline in their performance? And then how do you get that back up so that your own performance as a territory moves back up? When you go from one outlet to the other, every day you do around 30 outlets, and you do this for a period of 6 months in different geographies and different territories, you start understanding what the retailer really wants, what the distributor really wants. And these are nuances which you will not really know if you've not done this firsthand. There are many, many things that go in, and I think that's where you start looking at competition, you look at your own self, you look at pricing, you look at all of these different metrics, and then you start sort of forming hypotheses which then you test. So I think just to understand the whole complexity, this management trainee stint becomes extremely important to understand all these different channels and how they interact with each other, because e-commerce is now growing, which was also maybe not as big when I was a trainee, but that time modern trade was doing a very similar thing. The management trainee program at Reckitt is a 3-decade-long program because I think the senior most people who have done that are now just sort of either one level below the CEO or one more level below that. So they're literally in the top 4 or 5 people of the company, right? So it has a rich heritage, and by the way, these are not the only people. There's like, as you go down that route and as you go down those levels, you will find many management trainees all through. So that's the strength of the program. So it's a heritage plus the fact that it has been able to develop and churn out leaders who have done well globally. Senior leadership is extremely accessible, first of all, to all talent. I think in Reckitt, literally the CEO sits with the door open, right? And you are free to walk up, you're free to discuss, you're free to raise issues. All of that freedom sits with us. And I think that is something that I really like. So even when we work, it's always something, it's a very Reckitt thing to just walk up to the person and have a conversation and close things. We don't really go around following each other on email and this and that. We'll walk up to a table, we'll get 4 people together, we'll take a decision, we will move ahead. These are, I think, some values which, maybe you don't even realize because you do it all the time, and I've only worked that way. But I think when I look at my other friends working, when I look at them maybe working from home with ease and all, I think this is something which I really like, which is where you work directly with these people, you get to learn and understand so much. But the fact is that if you are really passionate about something, if you are really upset about something, either which way, you can really just go and discuss it from literally your manager till the CEO at any level. And there will be a conversation on it. Nobody will ever not engage with you if that's what it is, right? So that way, I think it's amazing.
No, all of us have some good days and some bad days and some bad experiences as well in the field. Do you remember any experience that you had in the past during your MT stint, or anything that stayed with you for a long time?
You start your management trainee stint in June. So I was in Banaras in June. It was upwards of 40 degrees. And I went from one outlet to the other. Finally did around 30 outlets and came back to the DB point. It was 5:30 in the evening. I was totally finished, drained out of energy. And I still remember I had drank 4 bottles of water without having to pee. So that's basically what it was. So I was dead by the time I reached back, and you don't even I mean, I didn't eat because the DBSR with me didn't eat, so we didn't really have a lunch break. So all of that I did, and then I'm sitting down at the DB point, and then my ASM comes into the DB point, and he's like, how was your first day and this and that. So I told him that it was good, challenging, whatever it was. And then he told me, okay, fine, good, grab a bite. Now we'll go for the wholesale beat. So right when I thought my day is over, it was just half the day. And then I remember I've got a cold bottle of water, I put it on my head, I put it on my face because I needed some way to boost myself back up. And then I went with him on the DBSR beat. See, now it was very easy for me to say no. But I think somewhere I also wanted to see what happens when he goes and how he is different, because then I had just seen the sales rep, but I wanted to see someone senior do that. So so that itself was a very, very difficult day, and I think when I look back now, I mean, I laugh at it, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't very easy. As a management trainee, I think these things were the difficult ones. In fact, I'll tell you my toughest stint. My distributors were scattered all over the place, and they were small distributors. So all these distributors were clubbed into one, and I was asked to handle them. I had to deliver a number, and the territory had not performed for the last 3 years. Nobody used to go there. So I made a plan, which basically meant that I would go to town A, work in town A, at night take the train to town B, reach town B, work there, take the train to town C. So it was a Monday to Saturday plan. On the Thursday or the Friday, I swear I lost orientation of where I am and what I'm doing. It made no sense. And I was tired. And then on Sunday or Saturday when I had to come back, that train was 6 hours delayed. So I'm waiting at the station on a Saturday. That train is delayed. When it comes, it's full of people. I still have pictures of that train, and I'm seeing people eating and all. And you know, all of these are things which are sitting at the back of your head. You see how people travel and all of that. And it's not the reason you do it. But then when you get that exposure is when all of this happens. And I was so tired after that. But that territory, we were able to do our numbers for the first time after 3 years. And then as a management trainee, I got a lot of benefit and accolade for that. So that showed me that, you know, if you put in that effort, and I'm not saying that you put in this much effort all the time, but there will be those few times where you do it for yourself. Normally, it will be worth it, because we did that number, and then that helped me stand out from my management trainee batch, and then that helped me get a much better posting as an ASM later on, which was in Karnataka upcountry. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if that answers, but yeah, that was for me at least the most challenging week and some of the most challenging days.
So since you told a lot about your experience, how it was in the entire 1 year, so maybe it's a little bit early for me to ask, but then how did you make it big, and what are the couple of things that I should emphasize on in this period so that I also make big like you in coming years?
I think your ambitions are small. I think there's a long way ahead for all of us, and by no means do I think I've made it big. I just think that I've always put my head down and always try to do the best for whatever job I'm doing, and simply doing that is enough, and it's good enough, and it's more than enough. So as long as you're true to that, you don't need to look at the calendar, you don't need to do anything else. Just keep doing that and do it as a habit, and then automatically the company starts picking you to put you in places where they need to see the needle move, and that's how you get the more interesting opportunities. So that's one way in which I would put it. So this period is all about 3 things: learning, getting your hands dirty, and making mistakes, right? So learning and making mistakes go hand in hand. You can't go to the outlet, see what the sales rep is doing and learn that. It's not going to happen. It will only happen when you do it yourself and you falter and you fumble, and it's all fine as long as you learn. Okay? So learning, making mistakes, that part is very, very important. The other part is obviously trying and trying and trying, because what will happen is that you are given it's a very clear KPI that we all work on, right? But to do that KPI, there might be 15 ways. I always feel that the smartest people are the ones who've tried maybe 5 or 6 different ways and then found out the best way or the most optimal way. And maybe there's a solution where approach A works for some type of a person and approach B works for a different type of a person, because your teams will also be different. So I think those are things which, if you keep in mind, it'll only help. But this is the time to learn, to make mistakes, to get your hands dirty. Most important, you must understand what it is to get a truck unloaded at a DB point, how much time it takes, how to do a stock check at a DB point, how to do a stock check at an outlet, how to talk to those outlet guys, because they are not going to be happy and they're going to be sitting already ready to complain and pounce on you the minute you go. So how do you manage all of that? So those things are important, and this is the time to learn all of it and get your hands as dirty as possible. Then you are sorted after that, I think. और जितना अभी नहीं करोगे, उतना it starts reflecting in the end. It starts reflecting in your interviews. It starts reflecting in your next roles. That will always happen. So the best soldiers are the ones who are the most bruised. That's always the case. So, and this is true for, soldiers are men and women now, but this fundamentally will not change. All the people I've worked with, and there were girls in my management trainee batch, this part has been common across the people who've done well. Lovely talking to you, Gagan. All the best. We've been talking, and I obviously will have an eye out for you, and any help, anytime, you can walk up to anybody in the organization, and of course me. So all the best and do well, and I hope to keep bumping into you.
So one of the best advices that I have received during my management training stint is from a senior leader at Reckitt, who actually told me that this is the 1 year that you will have. These 12 months are where no one will judge you for your failures, right? So you go experiment in the market, whatever you want to do, and then fail, and then learn from those mistakes. Ensure that you don't make the same mistakes the very next time. You gain something from all the mistakes that you do. And the second piece of advice that he gave me was basically to trust the organization, to trust the process where we are going. And then I saw, when I interacted with multiple leaders here, I saw that there are a lot of people who are maybe 10 years, who started as management trainees 10 years back, maybe 20 years back. So the management trainee program at Reckitt is almost 3 decades old. And now I have seen multiple people growing through the ranks starting from this very program only. So that is what he told me, was basically to trust what is going on, and Reckitt will ensure that you get in a different role, you transition into a very good role once your learning in a particular role is completed. So it's been an year since I have been a part of the management trainee program at Reckitt, and I think one piece of advice that I would like to give to anyone who is aspiring to join Reckitt is that if you are someone who thrives in a fast-paced environment, who likes to have authority at a very early stage, who actually thrives in an entrepreneurial spirit, or who have the entrepreneurial zeal in themselves and want to work with an organization which actually promotes entrepreneurship like anything, and at the same time want to make impact in the very early stages of their career, then I think Reckitt is the place for you to be.